This is the test of the Matt and Ed show. Something about Air Bud. It's a pretty good movie. Go check it out. We're testing the new mic.
Recorded live from the beautiful Black Box Studio in New York, New York. It's the Matt and Ed show, hosted by Matt and Ed.
All right, welcome everyone to episode 2 of the Matt and Ed show.
Welcome, welcome.
My name is Matt.
My name is Ed.
And boy, do we have a show for you today.
We do, in fact, have a show for you today.
It is episode 2. We are talking about Air Buddies.
Air Buddies. It's
the straight-to-DVD sequel of Air Bud. Well, I don't know if it's a sequel. It's probably like film number 4. I forgot to do that research.
Oh, I looked that up, actually.
What is it?
It's film number 6.
6?
So, Air Bud is a franchise about a dog that plays sports. And they made one movie. Can't remember what the first sport was. It could really have been anything.
Basketball.
Basketball. All right, so the dog plays basketball. And then, in an effort to make more money out of the idea of a golden retriever playing sports, which is, in all fairness, a pretty great idea, they have him play soccer, they have him play baseball, basketball, volleyball, football, whatever. Wait, I already said basketball. But it's movie 6, and they've run out of ideas for one dog, so they give him 5 kids.
5 more kids, yes. All with great, distinct, established, and developed personalities, wouldn't you say?
I would absolutely say, let's count them off.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got Butterball, who likes football.
Likes football. His other primary characteristic is morbid obesity.
And flatulence. We have B-Dog, the whitest black dog you'll ever see.
It's a little bit astonishing. He has like a gold chain with a little B on it. It's not gold.
He likes basketball. We got Buddha,
a baseball-playing sort of Zen dog who's absolutely my favorite character in this movie.
The same, actually. I really like Buddha.
He's the best.
We have Mudbud, who likes beach volleyball and mud.
Especially mud.
Yeah, a lot of mud. And then we have Rosebud, who likes soccer, and her distinguishing trait is she is a female.
She's pretty much the Smurfette of the Air Buddies.
Yeah. So we're going to get a little bit more into that later, but we hope you enjoyed the little summary of those buddies. Anyway, Ed, how was your week this week?
My week was pretty good. Exams are coming up, so that's horrifying.
Yeah, they're pretty close for us. 2 weeks away?
2 weeks, I think.
I know. I take the SAT the Saturday before the exams.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's no bueno. It's a lot of tests in a short period of time, but I'll live and learn.
It looms on the horizon. Yeah. How was your week?
My week was pretty good. I saw my first movie in a theater in I think months.
What movie?
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with my parents.
How was it? Telling me nothing, because I have not seen that movie.
It was a really good movie. Kurt Russell's really good in it. I wouldn't say it's as great as the first one. First one's really awesome.
First one is just so awesome.
Just good movie. I thought the tone was a little weird at some points, especially in the beginning. They kept kind of shifting tones. Actually, there are a lot of really funny moments, a lot of moments that I laughed, and they somehow have Easter eggs to their own first movie.
They have Easter eggs to their own first movie.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool, and there are 5 end credit scenes.
5?
Yes, 5.
That, I can't decide if I like that or not, honestly.
No, they're good. All
right.
So anyways, something else happened this week.
What else happened this week?
Well, we released the first episode of the Matt and Ed show.
We did, in fact, release the first episode of the Matt and Ed show.
And I gotta say, for us, it was really cool to see a lot of, first off, the people that watched it, regardless of whether or not you liked it or not.
Thank you so much.
We really do appreciate it because, we just wanted to share our thoughts on bad movies and sometimes good movies. This movie actually wasn't that bad.
I like this movie.
But there's, for me, this is something I was really nervous about. I don't know about you, but I particularly was super nervous because, we found this funny, but that's because it's us, and we find anything bad funny. So I was concerned that I'd associate this with being bad. Sorry, I moved my chair up a little bit, but yeah.
It was definitely nerve-wracking before we put it out there, but we've had some awesome feedback so far.
Yeah. By the way, because I forgot to say this earlier in the show, you can find us on Twitter at Matt and Ed Show. You can also find us on YouTube and SoundCloud at Matt and Ed Show. And if you want to send us an email talking about whatever the hell you want to send us a suggestion about what we should watch, email mattandedshow@gmail.com. those are just the plugs for now. Realized we kind of missed the boat on that.
Yep.
We're also probably going to launch a Facebook page pretty soon, as well as an Instagram, although I don't really know what we're going to post on Instagram because we need photos.
It'd be good to have an Instagram, though.
Yeah. So we're gonna probably set those up next week. Our goal also is to get a logo by Tuesday. So hopefully by the time you're seeing this, you will get a cool little logo as opposed to the stock photo from the The Last Airbender on the YouTube page.
I apologize for making you look at that.
Yeah, no, it's all right. That was kind of my fault for not organizing. So hopefully, shout out to the artist. We don't know who it is yet, but
shout out to whoever did it.
But we will give you a proper shout out in the next episode.
You will have been really cool.
Regarding the mic situation,
we kind of fixed it.
We are aware that that there's a little deficiency in the audio. You couldn't hear Ed as clearly this time as in the first episode as you may be able to now.
We hope.
This is because we record with my Blue Snowball microphone, and we did record with another microphone given to us by the media studio here. Shout out to them. They're really cool guys.
Shout out to the media studio.
They really helped us out a lot when it came to tech and stuff and how to set up. But for us, Ed had the other mic, and I had the Blue Snowball last week, and we thought it was sounding fine when we did all of our audio tests.
Our many audio tests.
Yeah, we do a couple, and I guess when we realized in post afterwards that I kind of wanted to set it up so they'd record in 2 separate audio tracks in case something like that happened, but it ended up recording in one. So basically, I couldn't give Ed any more audio and make him louder because that would then raise my volume, which would just hurt your ears a little more than normally. So we do apologize for that, and hopefully it's resolved now.
Let us pray.
We got a different mic this time. Instead of using 2 separate mics, we're both using Blue Snowballs. Thank you to the film department, actually, for setting us up with the second Blue Snowball.
Shout out to the film department.
We really appreciate that. Specifically, Mr. DiGregorio and Miss Lipkind, if you're listening. Hopefully you are, probably not. But we appreciate you guys for letting us use your mic today.
Absolutely.
Before we think of a more permanent solution to that issue. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for all your feedback. Any feedback, positive or negative, is helpful for us to make the show better because that's what we really want to do.
Yep.
We're no way experts at doing this. We've done this for like an hour of our lives.
Yeah.
So we're just looking for good feedback. So if you have anything, shoot us an email, mattandedshow@gmail.com. You can send us a tweet at mattandedshow on Twitter, or you can comment on the video, or I think you can comment on SoundCloud stuff, can you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on SoundCloud, but I think
think so. We got SoundCloud because we want an audio-only version for those who didn't want to...
Look at a stock photo of Ong the Lost Arbondar.
Yeah. So, yeah. I guess any other stories for the week? Because I got one, but...
I've had a pretty uneventful week, I'd say. I'll let it pass over to you.
All right, so I didn't tell you about this story. This happened yesterday. So I had a field trip to an art gallery yesterday. I'm pretty sure you know that. And
yeah.
It was pretty far, so we were on the east side, and this was very much so on the west side. But I had to come back here because I had driver's ed. So it was a lecture day, and it was the last, I think it was the last one, or it was the last one I needed to go to at least. So I was kind of just looking to go, and I had to leave early, and I was in a cab with 2 people, Priya and Quentin. Shout out to them if they're listening. I know for a fact Quentin won't.
This is true.
Oh, sorry. There's like a bunch of kids screaming outside. Hopefully you guys didn't hear that, but it's pretty crazy.
If you weren't, just be aware there are screaming children somewhere in the distance.
So anyways, basically we're in the cab because there's no way we're gonna get on the bus. It's also 90 degrees out in Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So it was super hot. So there's no way we could even like walk or anything. We were in the cab. Yeah. We were trying to go. And we're 2 blocks away from school. 2 blocks. And we had been in traffic for a majority of it because there was a very unfortunate incident in Times Square that day. our thoughts and prayers with anyone who has been affected or impacted by that. I know that a lot of media studios and stuff, and my mom was there the day before in that general area, so it's just terrible for a tragedy. But anyways, we were going back there, and I get an email. We're 2 blocks away. Due to personal reasons regarding your instructor, driver's ed is canceled today.
Oh, God.
So I was like super livid because I could have just gone home. I live pretty far away from school in terms of distance, and it was super hot, and I just didn't want to have to keep walking and walk to the train. I could have taken the cab home, but nope. I was now stuck here for about an hour. I helped a friend do some work, but basically,
that's something.
I was super mad about that. That was probably the biggest L I took. And then I'm walking home, and it's so hot. And I think if anyone knows me very well, they know one of the things I'm most passionate about in life are milkshakes. I love milkshakes more than probably most family members I have. And so I'm walking there, and it was so hot, I just needed to stop in a diner and get a milkshake. Valid. It was 90 degrees. I was sweating. I think that is the thing that saved me from legitimately having heat stroke. Because when I got back, I was super not feeling well for hours afterwards. So I think that kind of saved me from getting heat stroke there.
Milkshakes are universally good things.
Yeah, so I got one. And then I'm going to the train. I'm just continuing walking, and I reach in my pocket. It was the one day I wasn't wearing a sweatshirt because, like I said, it was 90 degrees. And I realized I don't have my phone.
Oh, God.
And if you're someone like me, you start panicking and triple checking every single place possible to see where you left your phone. I do lose stuff a lot, physical items quite a bit. So I was kind of concerned that I had dropped it on the ground because where we live here in New York City, it's not exactly easy to drop stuff on the ground and pick it up. But thankfully, by the time I realized, I was only about a block away from the diner. So I kind of ran back in, and thankfully it was there. But that was just I had a very easy day starting the day, and then it just turned into a series of collective awful scenarios. And then I got home, and I was really sick. And I think it's because of the heat. It's super hot. I am not used to 90 degrees.
Yeah, no.
Over the summer, I isolate myself in the mountains of northern Pennsylvania. So I'm not really used to 90-degree weather, and God, I really don't like it.
Honestly, I kind of like 90-degree weather on the whole.
Well, I'll have you know, guys, right now, it is 90 degrees out. I'm wearing short sleeves and shorts. Ed is wearing a T-shirt, a coat over it, and black pants.
Yeah. I sort of regret that. In retrospect, I will admit this may have not been my best, choice of wardrobe. But I really like heating up. I like hot weather. In the summer, I sleep under a comforter pretty much. I did until yesterday, more or less.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know. I kind of like in the cold. I'm kind of not to say that I like freezing weather, but I'd rather freeze than burn.
Huh.
That's my opinion. Obviously, because you know where I'm looking for colleges. A lot of them are very cold climates.
Is also true.
So hopefully I like it. Also, shout out to Kingston or Flash Drive for being able to give each other the thing. The podcast yesterday, so we can not yesterday. It's been a couple days.
Yeah.
So we could be able to edit it and get it out on time. We do want to get these out every Tuesday. We record them on Friday, as you know,
yep.
But we just feel it gives us a couple days to just make any changes we need, and also I feel like Tuesday is a pretty good day to just send some stuff out, see what happens, you know?
It's not Monday.
It is not
Wednesday.
Monday.
So you don't have the start of the week that is Monday, and you don't have the ennui of only being half over with the week of Wednesday.
Wednesday's actually my favorite day of the week.
Really?
Yes, I love Wednesdays.
What's your view on Wednesday?
Because it's when you start to realize the week's come to an end. I like that. I almost like that more than the end of the week. Not to say I don't look forward to the podcast, but I really like Wednesdays, and also that's when I have the least classes are on Wednesdays.
This is also valid.
But like I don't know why I always liked Wednesdays, and it's weird because I was born on a Thursday, so it's not like there's any like sentimental value for it.
Huh.
Yeah. So
one of those things.
I guess anything else very prevalent coming to mind? Oh, we're actually we're not on the short table anymore.
Yeah, we discovered that. Well, we're on the same table, but today we discovered the legs extend.
Yes, so, it is a tall table now, and it's cool.
It's very cool.
And that means we're not dying here with our knees being pressed up under the table that's shorter than our knees.
It was a little bit horrifying. I sort of wish we'd checked if the legs extend in retrospect.
Well, I think we were worrying about a lot of other things back then.
We really were.
So that's good. Yeah, I mean, obviously the first episode, there's going to be a few rocky things. It's not going to be ironed out. And not to say this is going to be perfect either. But
although it might be.
Doubtful. But I think that we're getting a lot more comfortable. I think we had an easier time doing this week than we did last week. I think we also chose a shorter movie, which kind of helped.
Yeah, it's about 20
I
minutes
didn't
shorter.
watch it at 9:30. I didn't watch it at 11:30 like I did the last one. I watched it at a very respectable 9 o'clock to 11:30ish.
Yeah, me too.
And it was good. And yeah, no, this movie, Air Buddies, actually I kind of liked. So you want to get into that?
Yeah, let's get to it.
All right, Air Buddies. So this movie was released straight to DVD on December 10th, 2006. And what do you think its budget was, Ed?
Okay. So there's no real major CGI stuff, but there's...
Well, they have to move the dogs' mouths.
That's true. They had to move the dogs' mouths and, the other animals' mouths. But I figure most of the budget was probably spent on training, getting the animals.
And marketing and all that stuff, I think.
Okay, marketing.
So, just for reference, Last Airbender was $150 million.
All right, so no way they spend as much money as Last Airbender did. So let's say...
Maybe they did. You never know.
I mean, I hope not.
Ed's in a deep existential crisis now. He's hoping that this movie did not have the same budget as Last Airbender.
I really am. So maybe I'm gonna go low. I'm gonna say 30 million.
The answer is $9 million. $9 million. This was not a very expensive movie. Well, I think there are a lot of factors that play into it. First off, it's not a Hollywood movie. It's a straight to DVD, so it's not seeing a theatrical release.
That's a win.
And generally, those movies have lower budgets. There wasn't really anything that really cost that much, I think. They used a lot of child actors, which means that they're probably working more days.
That's also true.
To shoot the scenes, because you can only work for so long with children, and of course animals. Of course, the classic thing of never work with children and animals.
Yeah, these guys they looked at that maxim, and they decided they bowed in deference to that maxim before gleefully kicking it down with willful abandon. Let's say.
Definitely, this movie. It was made for kids. Definitely a kids movie.
Definitely a kids movie.
They had a couple of adult jokes that I probably wouldn't have got had I been 6 years old watching this movie.
Yeah.
By the way, happy 10 years, Air Buddies. This is last year. It was
really
10 years. Well, December 10th, 2006. So yeah.
Happy 10-year anniversary, Air Buddies.
I don't know why. I thought this movie was released 5 years later than it was. I got that early 2010s vibe from this movie.
Yeah, actually.
Have you seen any of the other Air Bud movies?
I have not seen any of the other Air Bud movies.
So this was your first time going in?
Yeah, this was my first. Was it yours? Have you seen any Air Bud movies?
I think I'm pretty sure I saw the first one, but I'm not sure. If I did, it was a very long time ago, and I have like almost no memory. Like I know what Air Bud is. Like if you ask me what Air Bud is, I'd be like, oh, it's the dog that plays sports, right? This movie is not about sports.
This movie is not about sports. They've sort of abandoned the sports theme.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of different stuff like that. Like I don't know if it's like you've seen like Russell stuff. There's like it's like Air Bud but worse.
I don't think I've seen that. What is that?
There's this movie called like Russellmania, which is like Russ, this dog, except it's like Air Bud except professional wrestling, and it's worse and has a lower budget.
What?
Yeah, that came out. It was also straight to DVD. Shock to no one. But yeah, there seems to be a big market for kid movies with dogs playing sports, talking dogs playing sports.
Right. Man, you ever think about how many umpires sign off on that?
Quite a few.
Like, how many referees are like, okay, there's nothing in the rule book that doesn't say you can be a golden retriever. Is there actually nothing in the rule book of basketball that says you can't be a golden retriever? Is the human not specified?
I mean, I don't think so. I haven't looked up the NBA rule book, but I guess not. I think if you're in a small town like this movie is set in, I think first off, if there's a dog that can play basketball better than most people, I feel like it's a totally fine dog, and I would let him play just for the sheer amazement.
Valid.
So, what do you think this got on Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, it's straight to DVD, so that I don't know if they'd review it that much. So I would say maybe a 40-ish. It's pretty good.
Pretty close. Well, let me just say the score is based on averages from critical reviews.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how many you have.
Oh, yeah.
It's just how highly they score. So it has 46%, which, it's all right. It's significantly better than The Last Airbender. This is the best movie we have watched for the show so far, if I were to definitively rank them.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, so Air Bud, 46%, which is not a good movie.
But it's not a bad movie either.
Yeah, it's just like on the verge of being good, but not as good as one would have hoped to be, I guess.
Yeah.
So
it's sort of weird that kind of suggests to have high expectations for the Air Bud franchise. Like, I wonder what the average Rotten Tomatoes score of an Air Bud movie is. Was this like this betrayed the ideals of Air Bud by skipping the sports? Like, were people mad at this movie?
I will find out next week for you.
It's a good idea.
So I try to look up specific reviews for it, but I couldn't really find it.
Right.
There's not a whole lot for it, basically. Their IMDb score, if you want, what do you think it is? IMDb scores out of 10.
Probably a 3?
4.9.
Dang.
So it's actually rated higher on IMDb than it is on Rotten.
Huh.
So I guess I think the most famous person in this movie is probably the person who plays Mrs. Higgles, who is Jane Carr. Mrs. Niggles. Niggles. I don't know why I said Higgles. Yeah.
This is you looked up like the cast, right?
Yes, I have the cast.
So I have to ask you, because like this is narrated by like an old bloodhound deputy sheriff character, and was that guy played by Don Knotts? Because it sounded like Don Knotts.
What's that character's name again?
Sniffer. Something about sniffing.
Sniffer was played by. Let's look it up. Let me check my notes. Yes, it was Don Knotts.
Whoa!
Good job, Ed. Don Knotts is in this movie.
Don Knotts.
Don Knotts.
My man.
Knotts.
He started out playing a cop on the Andy Griffith Show in like Days of Yore. I thought I recognized the weird cop vibe emanating from that guy.
Yeah. He actually died before the movie came out.
Oh, really?
He died about 6 or so months before the movie came out. Actually, no. He died in February of that year. February 2006.
So was this his last movie?
Let me check that out right now while you talk to us about the plot.
All right. So the plot is essentially, it centers around these 5 buddies. Everyone calls them the buddies, including their father, Air Bud, which I thought was kind of weird. But they're about to be sent off to different homes because they wreak havoc on some things. They break a pie. They tie up Mrs. Niggles with yarn. And they're being sent off to different families, and they run away to try and stay together. But meanwhile, unbeknownst to them, there's this guy. I want to spend some time talking about the villain of this movie.
Oh, I described him as Russian Zoolander.
Russian Zoolander.
Because I don't think he's given a name. Maybe he's named in the other movies, but I didn't find his name. I have everyone else, but I don't have him.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what his name was. I couldn't figure out where he was from because his accent varied so wildly over the movie.
Yeah, I said Russian Zoolander because at first it was Russian.
At first it was Russian, but it sort of segued into Australian.
And then kind of like general Eastern European.
There were a couple of vowels that just no one says vowels like the way he says vowels a couple times.
And by the end of the movie, it was just kind of a American normal accent.
Yeah, he just sort of gave up eventually.
Yeah.
But he was very into the Bond villain aesthetic.
Yes, so much so he had a tiger.
He had a tiger in a cage, which he threatened to feed his henchmen to at one point.
Yes, he has henchmen as well. So just a little more backstory. Basically, this super rich dude and his son, who's kind of not a very nice person. He's kind of a little. He's kind of spoiled.
He wears a red bow tie.
Instead of getting a tiger, because the Russian Zoolander, he's kind of like an exotic animals collector.
He's an exotic animals collector / vintner, is the thing.
And dealer. No, I think that's the. I think the vintner was the rich people.
Wait, really?
I got that.
Oh, you might be right.
I assumed he was just there. But I could be totally wrong. It's not really explained.
They don't explain a lot.
So, basically, in this movie, instead of getting a tiger, which, by the way, would be super cool.
It'd be the raddest thing ever.
This brat wants Air Bud.
Specifically, Air Bud. He will settle for no less.
And once Russian Zoolander realizes that it's not just Air Bud, but Air Buddies, he wants his henchmen, which are made up of his nephew and some other fat bloke, and they just started to talk and basically tried to kidnap the puppies. There's a lot of dog nappings. The status of everyone being dog napped switches multiple times throughout the film.
The word dog nap is dropped about 6 times.
Did you count that?
I counted because I knew it was going to come up enough that it would be worth keeping a log. It was actually less than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So let's talk about the buddies.
Let's talk about the buddies.
Well, what'd you think?
So we mentioned him briefly earlier, and I think, did you say Buddha was your favorite?
I did say Buddha was my favorite.
Buddha was also my favorite.
Buddha got, I think, the most genuine laugh out of me in the beginning, in the first scene you see Buddha in, where they talk about how he likes to do yoga and stuff, and then he's seen doing the downward dog.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of dog puns in this film.
About 1 million dog puns, but that's probably the best one.
That one actually made me laugh a lot.
Yeah.
They also got I don't know if you noticed, they got a "Where's the Beef" reference.
I saw that.
They literally say "Where's the beef?" For those of you who don't know, there was a Wendy's campaign where, if you didn't know, Wendy's has square patties as opposed to the round patties.
Yep.
And it was centered around an old lady asking "Where's the beef?" because all this extra beef would be cut off to make a round patty.
So there's extra beef for you.
So that's how Wendy's talked about getting that. And so they somehow got a "Where's the Beef" reference in here.
Through some arcane means.
Yeah. So, anyways.
I actually compiled a few of my favorite lines Buddha had over the course of this movie.
Did you?
I did.
Okay, well, what were some of the favorite lines? As I drop Kingston, our lovely flash drive.
Shout out once again to Kingston. So, I think my single favorite line uttered by Buddha is when they're about to break the pie in the beginning of the movie, which results in them getting sent off to different homes. They're being babysat by this woman, Mrs. Niggles, the most famous person in the movie.
Yeah, maybe Don Knotts.
Maybe Don Knotts.
But I think contemporarily. And I think she's only played nannies.
Only nannies?
I'd like to believe so, as I almost dropped my mic there.
All right. But she's falling asleep. The buddies are sort of watching her from the landing. And Buddha says, with complete seriousness, Mrs. Niggles is finding her inner peace. I stopped the movie and I rewound it and I watched that line 4 more times because I just love the sentence. Mrs. Niggles is finding her inner peace. Like, there's a rhythm to that. It's just...
Mrs. Niggles is finding her inner peace. I was checking if it was an iambic pentameter. Unfortunately,
it's not.
So close. But, yeah, Buddha, I don't know why I like Buddha. I guess Buddha, it's because all the characters were one-dimensional.
Yeah.
I guess the one that's focused on the most would probably be Butterball.
Yeah.
But within that, Buddha's one dimension was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because the other ones were like, oh, I'm a girl, you know?
Oh, I'm black. He's not black.
Yeah, that's like... Or, oh, I'm dirt. Mudbutt doesn't really have a character.
Mudbutt doesn't even have one dimension. I don't know what's up with that guy.
Mudbutt is, I think, the least developed of all of them, in the sense that, like, for a long time, I couldn't separate him and Butterball.
Yeah.
Because they all have, like, aside from their, like, actual, like, characters, they have, like, slight physical things to tell them apart. Like Butterball, because he plays football, always has the little paint or mud on his face. You know, Rosebud has a rosebud on her ear.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And
B-Dog has a chain.
He has a chain.
Because, as Don Knotts describes him at the beginning, the kids say he's all about the bling-bling.
He is all about the bling-bling. And I think Butterball kind of carries the movie in the sense that he is the catalyst for everything that happens that is bad.
Yes. Butterball causes every problem.
Butterball was the person who's like, I want the pie. And so that's when they first got in trouble and they first got shipped off. Butterball is the first one caught by the people because they did the classic donut on a fishing rod.
Donut on a fishing rod. This is their first plan.
An effective strategy if ever there was one.
Oh, you could absolutely catch me with a donut on a fishing rod. I'm sorry.
Also, at the end, Butterball gets drunk.
Butterball falls in a vat of wine.
And he comes up saying, that's some funny tasting grape juice.
That was a very accurate Butterball impression right there.
I was actually the voice actor for Butterball. Yeah, I tricked you into watching my own film.
Honestly, the timing might work out.
No, I would have been 6. Oh. Actually, I would have been like 5.
Oh, you would? No, yeah.
Yeah. So, these dogs... Airbud also isn't really in the movie.
Airbud appears a couple times.
I was kind of disappointed. Airbud, he kind of just is there and he spouts fatherly wisdom.
Yeah. That's a weird role for a dog that plays sports to take.
I mean, I like the character of Airbud in this movie because he's essentially Buddha but older.
Yeah. He's got the same kind of calm. There was a point where I thought he was going to go a little bit Liam Neeson-y.
Like Taken?
Yes. Because the puppies are first dognapped, my bad, and then used as bait to dognap Airbud and his girlfriend. Molly. But then I didn't really know that Airbud was going to get kidnapped. I thought they were just kidnapping the puppies initially. So I genuinely thought for a second this was going to turn into a Taken movie.
Yeah, it's weird. And the thing I kind of notice about this movie is a lot of times dogs or other animals are just kind of running around in here, and no one seems to care.
Yeah.
At one point, I said in my notes, and I quote, does no one in this town realize dogs are running around?
Yeah.
And which basically leads to them being dognapped. And, like, there's 5 golden retrievers.
Yeah.
And they're well known throughout the town.
They're semi-famous even outside the town because the fat kid knows who they are.
Yeah, the fat kid in the vineyard knows who they are. So I wasn't sure why exactly they were, like, why no one noticed.
Yo, on the subject of people in the town not noticing anything, when the henchmen are like rolling around trying to catch these puppies, they're driving around this small town in like a Jeep with leopard print pattern and these two massive horns on the front.
Kind of looked like a bad version of the Dumb and Dumber van.
Exactly. But no one stops to wonder why these people with this Jeep with the horns are driving slowly around after the puppies. Like, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird. And like, okay, so there's other stuff I kind of want to talk about.
Let's get to it.
Noah and and his character in this movie. Noah is the kid who's Airbud's, I guess, owner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And across the street lives, I believe his name is Henry.
I think it's Henry, yeah.
And he is not named until at least most of the way through the movie. Hey. And so basically what happens is he's just there.
He's very just prevalent, not really doing anything.
Yeah, he's always with his friend. There's one thing that actually had me laugh a lot was when it was right when they were setting up whether or not, like, who's going to adopt the dogs from them, who's going to adopt the buddies. And they had everyone in the cafeteria. And initially I thought, sorry if there's some background noise. Initially I thought that there was, like, they're doing homework in the cafeteria.
Yeah, it looked like they were conducting a test or something.
I was really confused. I was like, this doesn't look like in your average school. But then again, they also have a dog on the basketball team. So I don't know how true that statement really is.
Just every kid in the cafeteria bent down filling out a form.
And then they go, all right, everyone, just give us your forms, and then we'll decide from there, and we'll set up further interviews about. And so it turns out they're interviewing the kids. They had to write like very personal, reflective forms about like what their parents' occupations were, and like their personal finance, perhaps their social security number.
Could be.
Just to adopt a dog. And it's like there's at least like 50 kids.
Yeah. It's like they're going through child after child after child, and every child is okay with filling out this like in-depth questionnaire.
It was actually like I was super confused, and then that actually kind of made me chuckle a lot.
Yeah.
Also, at one point, I'm just gonna read my notes. This was before Henry was named. I just said Noah and his black friend have walkie-talkies, because that's the only character we're given. Yeah. Perhaps if we watched any other of the Air Bud movies, we'd probably have an idea. But this was the only context we were given to this friend. He wasn't named until at one point they're walking through the park, and I believe Noah goes something to the effect of, "Henry, where are the dogs? We can't find them."
You just sort of have to accept that Noah has a black friend across the street that
doesn't Henry
need a name for a while.
He doesn't. I guess that maybe they writers forgot about the name.
That's possible.
And so basically there's also a lot of other characters in this movie, and I want to get into some of them as well.
Please.
What did you think of Grim and what's his name? The other fat man. I'll look up his name.
Yeah, the henchman. So the fat guy whose name I cannot remember kind of reminded me of a John Goodman character.
I thought Chris Farley. That's what I got the vibe. I mean, he kind of looked like Chris Farley.
He did kind of look like Chris Farley. It was not Chris Farley. No.
I wish it was Chris Farley.
That'd be amazing.
It was definitely not Chris Farley.
But he sort of had the John Goodman angry Southern accent thing going on, and he was very verbose. He used a lot of words, but he would like yell the words in this deep Southern accent.
I don't know how we have films with like everyone who's everyone just yells all the time.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot to tell you this. Don Knotts, it was in fact his last ever film appearance.
Oh my god.
Was Air Buddies.
That's kind of incredible. Like, I'd be okay with this being the last movie I ever made, honestly.
You know, we're kind of giving it a lot of crap right now, but it's actually not that bad of a movie.
It's honestly a good movie.
It's kind of weirdly paced, and there's a lot of weird things about it, but like looking at it through the lens of a kid, I guess.
Yeah, looking at the lens of a kids movie starring a bunch of dogs.
That's straight to DVD and a sequel.
It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's honestly not that bad. Denning. That's his name.
Denning! That's his name.
Sorry to the listeners for Ed killing the audio.
Sorry.
Yeah, his name's Denning. There's not they're pretty one-dimensional. I think no character in this film is really developed on or gains anything.
No, not really.
I guess maybe you can say by the end the buddies are, like, independent, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe. But let's talk about Grimm a little bit more.
Let's talk about Grimm.
Grimm is the Russian Zoolander guy's, like, deadbeat nephew.
And he's kind of really dumb, but he lucks into... He's not dumb. He's just kind of unaware, but he does smart things. Like, he's very well-spoken, like, strangely.
He will occasionally do very smart things.
It's weird. Like, he's kind of a deadbeat, but it's not like he's dumb.
Yeah. But he also has some excellent moments. Like, when the buddies are being used as bait, and Denning and Grimm are hiding in a tree for some reason, waiting for Air Bud to show up and go all Liam Neeson so they can dognap him. There's a moment where Denning's being all like, "That's right, call your mother," to the puppies, because Denning is occasionally very creepy. And Grimm just, matter of fact, he pulls out a phone and calls his mother. And I just really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up, too. That was something. This movie, I wouldn't say I ever laughed, but I chuckled a lot.
Yeah.
Which, firstly, when I watch movies, I don't know if we talked about this on the show before, but if it's a comedy, I find it really weird. I'm one of those people who finds it really awkward to, like, laugh out loud. Like, especially when I'm, like, alone watching a movie, Because, like, I'd be sitting alone in my room, and I'll just be like... but this movie genuinely got me like 2 or 3 times with a solid chuckle, which was pretty good.
Solid chuckle is a solid chuckle.
So Grimm, we talked about him. What did you think of, like, the parents? I guess they're not really that focused on. I guess maybe the dad of Noah is, I guess, the most.
Noah's dad comes up occasionally. I didn't really have much of an opinion on the parents. I'd be curious to see if you thought there was anything specific about them.
Yeah, there's one thing in particular. Noah's dad at one point compares the act of giving away dogs to the act of applying to college.
Oh my god, yeah!
And as someone who is in the process of applying and being accepted into colleges, I cannot say how wrong that is.
It's just so wrong.
I was mad. I was angry. I paused it. I took a little walk. I calmed myself down. I had a nice little glass of water, talked to my mom for a second, and then I walked back. And I was like, this is just false. I can't...
It's a patently false claim.
Yeah, it was really upsetting. And we watched this last night because the great organizers that we are couldn't figure out what the hell to watch until literally that night.
Yeah. Like, decided last night we were gonna watch Air Buddies.
Yeah, we were in a class, and I said, "Hey, do you want to watch something Air Bud related?"
Yeah,
and he goes, "Yeah,
absolutely."
And so we looked on Netflix, and there's a couple of them on there. And
there was World Pup is one of them. Can't remember the names of the others.
Yeah, and there were like 3 or 4.
Yeah,
and so I texted him at about 6 o'clock, thinking, "Okay, Ed's gonna get back. He usually gets back to me pretty fast."
Yeah,
and he goes. And I go, "Hey, which one are we watching?" Thinking, I don't know if I don't want to be up till like 1 o'clock again. And then like 3 hours later, I think Air Buddies.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like I was between 4 and 8. I was at my old middle school for various reasons, like setting up for a concert. And they do have Wi-Fi there, but they're on like a whitelist, so there are like 6 websites you can go on.
Oh, okay.
And since I have a $15 flip phone, I couldn't really get in touch with you over messages until I got back. So I'm really sorry about that.
Could have texted me.
I should have texted you.
Whatever, it's cool.
Regardless.
And I was almost hoping I just watched one of them and just kind of hoped you'd watch the same one. but thankfully we were able to watch that. So there were a lot of characters in this movie, and I mean a lot of characters.
A lot of characters.
There was a goat at one point.
The goat was...
His name was Billy.
Of course it was.
He was a Billy goat. And it's kind of... At one point it kind of gets very Home Alone-y.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's just them kind of walking about, doing their own thing, and suddenly the people trying to attack them, and they continually outsmart them, and there's a bunch of slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
And like the fat people are fat, and they get thrown in mud, and it's like I just kept watching. It's like this is a bad version of Home Alone with dogs.
Did I feel like Home Alone sort of created a genre where you just like torment two criminals as much as humanly possible? Yeah. People look at it and laugh. Was Home Alone the first movie to do that, would you say?
It's the first one to do it, I think, in that way that I can think of. I'm sure there are, slapstick comedy goes back to, Three Stooges type stuff.
Yeah.
There were huge slapstick comedies. Of course, Gallagher, legend of slapstick comedy.
Always.
Smashing watermelons, his only joke.
The only joke you need.
This is very off topic, but did I ever tell you the story between Gallagher and the real Gallagher?
No, but please.
So Gallagher had a very famous act in which he smashed a bunch of watermelons. That was his big thing.
Yeah.
And he got pretty famous, right? He was like kind of Carrot Top, but worse almost. And then his brother started going around shows as Gallagher as well.
What?
Which prompted the original Gallagher to start a rivalry, and him performing under shows as the real Gallagher.
Oh my god.
And this was like a pretty big sibling rivalry because they would smash watermelons and stuff, and they looked enough alike where you thought this Gallagher's just like his brother was like him.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Did they ever make up? Did they resolve it?
Not that I know of, although I can do some research about
All right.
that.
Come back to you next week, figure out what happened with the real Gallagher.
Anyway, Sniffer.
Oh my, Sniffer. So, Sniffer is sort of the narrator for the movie, for one scene at the beginning. And then
it starts off with it being a story.
Yeah.
I thought it was a story.
It starts off with
one of those movies where it's well, back in the days of the yonder, there was this group of puppies.
It was exactly that.
Like one of those. And then it just stopped being
just
that.
Abandoned that entirely after the first voiceover.
And it's not like it came back at the end or anything.
No, he didn't even wrap it up later. He just sort of introduced it and sort of
the movie just kind of ends also. It just kind of says the end. And that's the end of the movie. But Sniffer, I liked him. He was very good little dog. He was a very old dog. He had some funny lines.
Yeah.
He got sprayed by a skunk. Always a classic gag to be sprayed by skunks. But also, I had another question. This is about Molly. Molly is the girlfriend of Air Bud.
The fabled
Air Bud. Why doesn't Molly own any of the buds? Why are all 5 of them at the house of the Air Bud?
Say,
because first off, it doesn't make sense because you'd think they'd want to be with their mom because their mom for at least a lot of their life is feeding them and stuff like that.
They just sort of move them over to their dad's house at some point.
Yeah,
for no reason.
Kind of weird.
And all 5 too.
Yeah, I don't know why that is the case. But I guess that's how they wanted. I guess Air Bud is just super dad.
Yeah. And I mean, you could argue that maybe the families were setting up something, but that doesn't really work either because we keep seeing that it's really easy to go from house to house.
Yeah, the dogs are just independent.
Yeah. And we also know that the families don't care when, Molly goes across to Air Bud's house, to the scene where Henry calls Noah and he's like, hey, did Molly fall asleep at your house because she's not here? So that's something that happens. You can go from house to house, but the buddies always stay in the one house with their dad. All 5 of them, for some reason.
Also, just a quick note about the buddies. I did research a little bit. What is the average amount of puppies a golden retriever has?
What's the average amount?
More than this. So usually their average is about 8, but the ranges can usually vary from about 4 to 12. So this is probably on the lower end of the spectrum for golden retriever puppies. Thankfully, there was not another one. I just almost dropped your mic, which is my mic. So
it's all good.
But basically, I'm so happy there wasn't more. You could have cut Mudbud.
You could have cut Mudbud easily.
As much as I loved him, you could have cut Buddha from this movie. It could have just been the 3, because B-Dog's kind of focused on in a way.
B-Dog has character development occasionally.
I wouldn't say development, but he has these lines.
He has a character, mostly being scared of things.
Butterball is obviously
the
main one.
Fails repeatedly, and that's the movie.
And Rosebud is the girl, so you kind of need.
You need your Smurfette.
And I think Rosebud was a fine.
Rosebud was pretty good.
Definitely not the worst here.
No.
So, what do you think overall of this movie?
I think there are kind of two ways to like a movie that you judge as objectively bad. One of those is you love it because it's bad, and one is you love it even though it's bad. And a lot of bad movies that I watch, that we talk about, are movies that because they're bad, I love them. But I think with Air Buddies, I know on some level that this is not a good movie.
It really isn't, but for some reason, I think I enjoyed it. I have no clue why.
Yeah.
It was charming. It was cute. It was also, I think it benefited a lot from the fact that it was, pretty short.
Yeah.
It was not a long movie. If it had stayed maybe, even 10 minutes longer, I think I would have disliked it a lot more.
Yeah.
It was short. It was easy to watch. I pretty much watched it in one sitting.
Yeah.
I very easily could have. It wasn't like Last Airbender where I was just constantly confused. I always kind of knew what was going on. I understood the characters and their motivations. So, despite having, less than, millions and millions of dollars less,
what,
of a budget,
141 million less?
they still managed to create a better movie, I think, than The Last Airbender. But with that being said, I wouldn't say go out of your way to see it. It's on Netflix, and if you want to watch, go ahead. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just, it's a cute little movie.
It will make you smile. Briefly.
There are moments that'll make you smile, and the ending's really sweet. And if you have kids,
this is a good movie.
It's a good movie for kids. There's some jokes for adults in there. Obviously, Butterball getting drunk.
Yeah.
He does definitely get drunk.
He's very drunk.
And I don't know how that really works, but in terms of, I don't think he ingested anything.
Didn't look like he ingested anything. He was just sort of swimming around in it.
Maybe osmosis.
Yes,
perhaps. There's a lot of heart in this movie. You can tell that the people who made it knew who their audience were.
Yeah,
and there wasn't anyone who was good in the movie, I think, acting-wise.
Not really, no.
I mean, you have a lot of kids.
You have a lot of kids, so that's always a downside.
And there wasn't a ton of memorable moments. There was things that made me chuckle, but I think the biggest problem this movie faced was there were so many characters that I just got lost some of the time. Even with the buddies, I got it eventually, but I kept getting confused. Mudbud and Butterball are essentially the same thing, except Butterball actually has a character.
Yeah.
And obviously they're all siblings, so they look alike, but they didn't do enough, I think, to distinguish them.
Yeah.
It's a kids' movie, I understand, but there's no real trace of any distinct characters aside from those very one-dimensional things.
Yeah, they spend more time introducing one-dimensional secondary characters like the goat,
or the pigs,
or the wolf.
Yeah.
You could have cut out a lot of the just brief encounters they have and spent some time focusing on who these sports-playing puppies are.
You know what I also watched yesterday?
What else did you watch yesterday?
I watched an episode of Chowder.
Ooh.
The cartoon from my childhood. And in that half hour, I think they did a better job at establishing characters and where everyone was and developing them. better than this movie did. This movie is not like one of those movies where you really look for developing characters. It's something you'd like put on to kind of pass the time almost.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, because it's straight to DVD, I don't really have any clue of how well it did. I'm assuming it made a profit, hopefully.
I mean, they came back for more movies.
Yeah, the next movie in the series is Snow Buddies.
Yeah.
Which I actually remember the advertising for. It was...
You actually... While I was watching this, I came across a story for Snow Buddies.
What's the story?
Where, while they were filming this movie, there was... They had, like, a bunch of different puppies standing in for each buddy, obviously. Like, Disney bought, like, 25 dogs initially. But then they contracted a virus.
Oh.
So, at least 5 puppies died during the making of that movie.
Oh, my God. That's awful.
It's really awful.
Jeez.
But then Disney wouldn't stop making the movie. And they just hired some more puppies and kept going.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between when, unfortunately, animal actors die and others don't. So, Air Bud's actually played by two dogs.
Oh, huh.
Their names are Scout and Parker, and they filmed it with 2 dogs instead of 1 because of the demanding schedule.
That makes sense. The dog's got a lot of things to do with their time.
Yeah. So, I guess... Oh, Deborah Jo Rupp was actually in this...
Wait, really?
Yeah, she was the pig who spoke Pig Latin.
No way!
Which, by the way, I thought that was actually pretty funny.
That was really funny.
But yeah, Deborah Jo Rupp, who's, I guess, the most famous person.
Yeah. Deborah Jo Rupp, most famous person in the movie.
movie.
Also, her last line is Oikot Bay, Aiken Bay.
Yeah.
Which is Pig Latin for boycott bacon.
So Deborah Jo Rupp, of course, was Kitty Foreman in That 70s Show.
Never forget.
Great show. I really do love that show.
Yeah. Go watch that and not anything that we're talking
Except
about.
the
here.
end of that show. Don't watch like the last. Once Eric leaves, don't watch that show. Spoilers for That 70s Show. But yeah, good, solid movie considering what we had to do with last week.
Yeah. I think a lot of things would have looked good after last week, honestly.
Yeah. So what do you think's next, Ed? What do you want to go into?
I don't know. I think not another dog movie.
Yeah, we're done with dogs for the time being.
Done with dogs for the moment.
Although at some point I do want to get to the live action Scooby-Doo movies.
Oh yes.
Because I have them on DVD.
You have them on DVD?
Yes, pretty sure I do.
Okay, I have more questions about that.
I have a lot of
later.
I was a kid and I like Scooby-Doo a lot.
All right, that's valid.
And I look like Fred. So
you do look like Fred.
Especially as I get older and adopt more and more of his styles. I don't have an ascot, but I'm pretty close. So yeah, I have those two. I don't know. So if you guys have any suggestions of what we should watch, hit us up. You can email us. Send us an email at mattandedshow@gmail.com. Give us a follow on Twitter and tweet us at mattandedshow.
Also an option.
You can comment on the video if you have any ideas.
We have that.
One of the funnier comments that we got I don't know if you saw this. Have you been paying attention to some of the comments?
I haven't.
So basically this one guy said, quote, "This is the better of the Mystery Science Theater 2000 remakes."
I'm very okay with that.
I saw that and I chuckled a lot. Thanks William Ma who commented that. So
wait, no, yeah, thanks Dennis.
Yeah.
Ma.
Thanks Dennis Ma. Is that Dennis?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, shout out
to Dennis.
Shout out to Dennis, I guess. But yeah, anything else you want to say before we start to wrap up?
I think I'm pretty much wrapped up with this movie. I can never think about it again.
No, yeah, I'm pretty here. Oh, I forgot about one scene.
Oh.
Where they got the Home Alone guys got gang raped by bikers.
Oh my god, yeah.
How do we forget to talk about this?
Okay, hold up. We gotta go back into that.
Okay, so they're watching 101 Dalmatians, of course.
At a drive-thru.
And they find the Air Buddies. And then, by the way, everyone loves puppies. Who doesn't love puppies?
Everyone loves
I love
puppies. This is objective fact. Especially
except
people
my mom.
going to see 101 Dalmatians.
My mom really doesn't like dogs.
What?
Yeah, my mom's very, terrified of dogs.
Oh, your mom has that right.
Yeah, shout out to my mom.
Shout out to Matt's mom.
She's listening. I know she is. And basically the dogs go to bikers, and then as they're stumbling, the Home Alone peeps, they stumble into the bikes. And of course, if you've seen any movie with bikers, you know that if you stumble into the bikes, something bad is definitely going to happen.
Definitely. In fact, right before they stumble into the bikes, one of the biker guys remarks to one of his biker bros, "I love puppies almost as much as I love my wheels."
Yeah, exactly. And so they got literally taken away and I think gang raped.
I'm pretty sure.
And they got stuff thrown at them. They got tied up.
Dangled in front of the
Definitely
screen.
illegal. But yeah, so that's a scene in the movie. And if you remember anything from that movie, it hopefully should be that.
It should definitely be that.
So anything else, Ed? You got anything to plug for this week?
Not really. No.
Well, I have something to plug for this week.
You have something to plug for this week?
Next week.
True.
Next week, we will have a very special guest.
A very, very special guest.
Our first guest.
Of the Weir. Ever.
Of the Weir. Yeah, the first ever guest on the Mad Ned Show. We have someone coming in, and this person's going to co-host the show with us. We're really excited.
Awesome.
You know who you are if you're listening. Hopefully you are.
Yeah.
So we have a guest next week, which is cool. We always want to get a lot of guests on the show.
Yeah.
So that's aside from that. Anything else you have?
Not really. Tune in next week. Hit us up if you have an idea to watch, so we won't be watching them the night before.
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be really
great. So I guess if you want to follow us, here are our plugs. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, which is Bat and Ed Show on YouTube. Go ahead, comment, like, subscribe. That stuff really matters to us.
All that stuff.
You can also give us a follow on SoundCloud, Matt and Ed Show.
If you're a SoundCloud person.
Speaking of following, you can follow us on Twitter, Matt and Ed Show. And if you want to send us an email, mattandedshow@gmail.com, we will respond, hopefully, maybe.
We will respond.
Maybe we'll respond. If not...
if we don't respond,
we might respond on the show.
Yeah.
You can send us any questions you have. We'd love to answer some Qs. We'd love to have a short Q&A little thing. So you can send us an email on there or send us a tweet or something if you want to do that. Aside from that, I thank you guys so much for listening to the second episode, making it all the way through. We really appreciate all the feedback you guys gave us and all the support, and we're gonna hopefully keep making these because we have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So other than that, be well, stay safe, and we will catch you next week.
Catch you next week.